Well, the House Ethics Committee has finished its meeting today. Lawmakers did not reach an agreement on whether to release their report on the panel's investigation into former Congressman Matt Gaetz. He, for his part, denies all wrongdoing. CBS News congressional correspondent Nikole Killion has been there outside of the room following lawmakers around Capitol Hill. With all these developments, Nikole, I'm hoping you can just get our viewers up to speed about what we know was discussed in that committee meeting today.
Well, we don't know exactly what was discussed because this is a House Ethics Committee and a House Ethics investigation. Many members are tight-lipped about their proceedings. But what we can tell you is that the chair of the Ethics Committee just told me a short time ago that there was no resolution out of this meeting. Now, we were waiting to see whether or not the panel would vote to release this report, concluding their investigation into former Congressman Matt Gaetz. But ultimately, because there was no resolution, that means at this time, no report will likely be released. I did press the chairman as to whether or not the panel might meet again to try to hash this out further, but he told me that they don't comment on their meetings or their schedule. We also asked if he intends to release this report more specifically to the Senate Judiciary Committee, because ultimately that is the committee that is tasked with the confirmation proceedings for Matt Gaetz, given that this is an attorney general position, but he also declined comment there. So at this time, it appears that the report will not be released by the committee, which means that, again, we will have to see kind of what those next steps may be, if it remains under wraps or if it is, released at a later time.
And we know that there were a lot of lawmakers and a lot of Americans who were hoping that the committee would make a decision to release that, given that the former congressman it's not just salacious details they're looking for, but he has been selected by the president-elect to lead the Department of Justice. So, Nikole, I'm hoping you can bring our viewers back into, give them some more insight into why people really wanted to see this report, what the committee was investigating, and why it potentially has a direct impact on whether or not Gaetz is confirmed.
Well, in terms of their investigation, we know that it had been underway for some time and that it was primarily focused around allegations of sexual misconduct involving the ex-congressman, as well as potentially allegations of financial impropriety. So from that standpoint, we know more broadly that is what the committee was looking into. But look, as I mentioned, because this is an ethics panel, most of these investigations are typically kept under wraps or are handled very sensitively. It's not something that is publicly broadcast. So from that standpoint, we often don't know when the committee is meeting, the status of the investigation, who may be talking to the committee. All of those details are usually not readily apparent or evident without some digging. So from that standpoint, we typically wouldn't expect to know much about the status of the investigation or where things stand, but for, obviously, given the nomination of Matt Gaetz, that has certainly raised the threshold, if you will, in terms of interest. And this is something, like I said, that has been ongoing for some time. Former Speaker Kevin McCarthy often made reference to this particular investigation. He felt that that was part of the reason why the ex-congressman tried to drive him out of the speakership. So while yes, it is a very secret process, at the same time, it is something that has been known here on Capitol Hill. And again, in talking to senators on the other side of the Capitol, primarily Republican senators, their main argument is let this process play out. Certainly, there are some senators who do want to see this report and believe that it is essential to helping them make an informed decision about whether to move forward on the nomination of Matt Gaetz. But at the same time, there are other senators who believe, look, let the process play out. Whether we have this report or not, they feel that whatever details are surrounding this case, as well as the former federal investigation into the congressman, will eventually come out. That's kind of what these confirmation hearings are for, is what some senators argue. So they believe a lot of these details, a lot of this information will eventually come out in some form or another, whether or not the actual report is released.
Yeah, Nikole, I was thinking about the former speaker, Kevin McCarthy, also a Republican, who felt like the reason why he was ousted from his seat was because of this investigation into Matt Gaetz, and wondering, if just as a thought experiment, if things might be different coming out of that committee, if it was McCarthy who headed up the Republican conference rather than Johnson right now. But Nikole, as you've been discussing, Gaetz is there on the Hill. He's been trying to shore up support. Do we know? I know that the lawmakers are telling you right now that they want to just let the process play out, but do we have a sense if he's actually convinced any Republican senators?
Well, I guess just to be clear to your first point, I mean, in terms of whoever the speaker is, it really is not their duty to put the thumb on the scale. So from that standpoint, whether it's Speaker Johnson or former Speaker McCarthy, even though McCarthy was more vocal about this ethics probe, it is not their view or position that the speaker should get involved. And certainly the ethics committee tries to
Johnson's
maintain
weighed
its
in on
independence.
this and changed his mind a little bit on how he felt before and how he feels now. So it's not.
Well, his primary argument is that because Gaetz is no longer a member of Congress, that now this investigation and this report is no longer applicable. So again, you can take him at his word, but that is kind of what he has said in terms of the process. And he has suggested that his position is consistent, that he has not flip-flopped his stance in terms of his position with the Ethics Committee. But that being said, to your other question with respect to the process going forward, I mean, we are not too far away from where these meetings are taking place here at the Capitol. Most senators have seemed to have a very positive disposition in terms of how these meetings have been going. And again, they say that this is all part of the process.
We have to take a quick break. Thank you very much.